Okay, we're gonna do a setup video for well, this one's for micro puzzles. Just we're gonna go ahead and start. The first thing you should always do with your machine, when you have a machine, you should always clean up your rollers, and you should always use lacquer thinner. That works really well, doesn't hurt the rollers, and it keeps them nice and clean. And usually what I do is I just clean over the rollers. See how that junk just comes off of there? You wanna make sure you clean the both white sets of rollers, then the ones inside. Make sure they're nice and clean. That's the first thing you should do. Okay, once that's done, then you're gonna go ahead and set up the machine here. I'm gonna come back here, get right here. First thing you should do is take out your back plate. Take this off. Then we're gonna go back here, we're gonna take off the spring off the machine. Okay, take the spring off. Then we're gonna go ahead and grab the mandrel out of here. You pull up on the arm and take it out. Now we're going to go ahead and add our roll labels. Now, this is going to be an unusual application here. We are kind of going to look at our roller here where we're going to apply the label. So I'm going to put a little more to the left because I know the label is going to go a little higher. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, and we'll go ahead and finish lining it up once it's in. Go ahead and put our other label guide in. Okay, so that's pretty much set up there. That's what you want. I'm a little bit to the left because I want everything to the left. I'm gonna go ahead and reinsert this. So you grab it, pick up on the arm. Okay, put it into the hole and make sure it goes into the other guide here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put my spring on. That's the next thing you should do. So there we go. Now take my labels and I make sure I go underneath this arm, then up, straight through the machine, behind this roller here. And you can move these out because you want to have a little room here, guide, so everything lines up, and then pull it up so you have a couple of feet there. Then you go straight through underneath all the rods here, then right through here to the two black rollers. It should be sticking out like it's sticking out a tongue. Come out forward. Then you grab your peeler bar, you take that off, put it back in, but you want to make sure the sharp edge and the slope is this running down this way. So the sharp edge should be in the back. You should have a little gap there, not a large gap. Then I pull on it a little bit just to get more material out. Then I grab my material here, I turn the machine on, let the machine pull it down. Okay, then I grab it from the bottom. We go ahead and pull down, make sure we're close enough to the rewind. Now I make a little tip here, a little arrow, to make it easier to get into the slit here. Okay, and then I kind of line it up with the label guides back there to make everything, and it should go over itself at least once. You can just pull on and roll it, rotate it. So now we have our machine kind of set up there. Next thing, I push on the trigger, and you should see the material feeding through. Now, there's no labels there because there was no labels on the material there. But now once I have it, the next thing you want to see is that the machine feeds out about half of the label. So I think this should be somewhere around maybe 2 to 3, and that looks pretty good. And it should be kind of hard to pull out. It should be real easy where it just pulls right out. And the next label should not be sticking out. So that looks perfect. So now, once that's set up, we go ahead and move our tires. Now, for this container, we want our label here. So we're gonna be pretty close here. I'm gonna go ahead and move our guides in now. You know, you don't want it touching the backing, but you want it close. Same thing in the back here. Move them close so it's about, you got a little space in between the material, not too close because it'll rip the material if it's too close. Give yourself a little room. That looks good now. So the next thing is here. We want our container guides here. Okay, but before I do that, I'm gonna close this up here. So I'm using the knob in front to close it up. You want it so, then you wanna make sure it's activating. You wanna make sure this clicks. It sounds good. I can hear it. I know it's hard to hear, but you want to make sure that that's pressing down on it when it's going down. And the other thing is you want to make sure you're kind of lined up with the label here. So I'm looking at that. I see it there. That looks pretty good. And you want to make sure the container never touches the peel bar. So I'm looking at it from the side here. If we look from the side here, you want to see it hovering over the peel bar, but it should not be touching it. Hovering over it. Okay, once that's done and you're good there, then what I do is I take my guides here and I adjust it here. This is for the left And, you know, you want to make sure you have a little play. Okay, here. Then once you have that in there, you want to make sure it will roll out. So that looks good. And you should have a little play left to right. And so, because these will vary, so you want to make sure you have a little room. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, the next thing would be this arm here. Now, this one just happens to be in the right place, but most of the time, you want to make sure you adjust this. Okay, and you want to make sure it's on top of the label. That looks pretty good. And you want to create a little gap right here, just a little bit, to make it easier to get the container in and out. So once it's done, you make sure this one's nice and tight, and this one's nice and tight. Okay, and then I check it. See, so this makes it easier to get the container in and out. That looks pretty good. So once I do that, I have my carriage adjusted, my guides adjusted. Tighten these up, make sure. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna test it now. And so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the machine on, put one in here just to check to see how my placement is. So I shut it back off, and that looks really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it there. Okay, once I see that that looks pretty good, I can go ahead and put my back plate in. So now to put your back plate in, just take it, you set it on top of the rod here. Make sure this edge, this one goes towards the front. In the back, there's no lip there. So you wanna make sure the lip is facing towards the front. You put it in and it drops in and it stays in place there. So now I can go ahead and I have my containers here. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it. I insert, it labels. Next one comes in, labels. So that's what you just wanna make sure. See, so, and that should be your alignment for it. Now, if you ever get one that misses, don't worry. Just go ahead and run it through one more time. It can't, you know, that's why, and you might need to open the carriage up just a little bit if it misses. So that allows the container to go in and get labeled. I'm gonna do this one more time. Looks good. See, so basically just insert, label, and it does it as fast as you get them in there, and they all look great.